My name is Ty Franklin, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to find and close wholesale deals from start to finish. I've been a full-time real estate investor for 4 years. I've done fix and flips, but my primary focus is in wholesaling. So I'm going to be breaking down the simple process so you can find and close your next wholesale deal. Now, when it comes to wholesaling real estate, I like to break the process down into 6 simple steps, all right? The first step is selecting a market. The next step is sourcing your data. Following that is your lead generation, the acquisitions, dispositions, or finding a cash buyer, and then finally the closing process. If you're able to simplify the whole entire process, you'll be able to easily repeat the process and create a system so that you can consistently close wholesale deals. And I'm gonna break down and jump into each one of these steps in the next slide, so follow along. So the first step is selecting a market. And here's some tips to help you select a good market that you want to be able to wholesale in, that you can consistently close deals in. So you want to look for markets that are good rental markets. Now, a strong rental market pretty much indicates that there's a demand from buy and hold investors who are often key buyers for wholesalers. And generally, buy and hold investors, they are willing to pay a little bit more for properties versus those fix and flips investors, because those fix and flippers, they need to get the properties at such a lower discount in order to make a bigger profit. On the contrary, the buy and hold investors, they can pay a little bit more because they're holding the property for cash flow and not an equity play. The next thing is you want to look at affordable housing market, right? What the median prices are in those areas. So you want to look at areas that is affordable for retail buyers, for the middle class, quote unquote, or people that are able to qualify for these loans, right? To be able to purchase these properties. And then you want to be looking at these properties, the average median prices, where it's not too much for a cash buyer to purchase. They don't have to leverage so much capital. So those markets where the purchase prices or the asking prices of the homes are a little bit lower seem to be a little bit more beneficial for wholesalers. These properties aren't overly expensive, and you'll be able to sell it to either cash buyer or even a local buyer in the market. The next thing is growing population, right? Obviously, you want to be planting your flags into markets that are consistently growing, that are developing. There's building going on, there's growth there because there's a demand, right? So whenever there's a demand, there's going to be more opportunities for you to find these deals and be able to sell these deals to all these different buyers and whatnot. Next is high investor activity. Obviously, that goes into the growing population. If there's a growing population, that means there are a lot of investors that are in those markets that are investing in the area, purchasing properties, fixing and flipping, rehabbing, or just purchasing those properties to hold on to them as rentals. And those are areas that you want to be in when it comes to wholesaling real estate. Another one is don't focus on non-rural areas because there aren't many buyers in those areas. That's more of a niche area. Not to say that you won't be able to get deals out there, but it'll be a little bit more difficult to get a deal there because there aren't as many buyers out there. There's not much activity in those rural areas. And my last tip is secondary markets. Now you have your main major cities, but what are good markets are going to be those outer skirts secondary markets right outside of those major cities, because the price points are going to be a little bit lower, but they're not going to be too much further away from those major cities, right? So about 20 to 30 miles outside of those major cities are going to be good areas or good markets for you to start in to get wholesale deals. The next thing is sourcing your data. All right. So when it comes to sourcing data, this is very important. Sourcing data is pretty much the process of gathering property addresses and potential seller contact information so you can prepare for marketing. All right. And pretty much you want to start pulling lists, right? You want to start gathering lists or compiling lists and building lists of property addresses and sellers, potential sellers that you're going to market to. For me, I like to pull my list with the seller avatar or the seller profile in mind. Okay. So, for example, I want to start finding high motivated people, right? So, my top lists I'm going to target are going to be lists that will ideally have those higher motivated type of individuals, right? Homeowners. So, for example, here's some list examples or list types that you can look into that are pretty common. That you can start finding motivated sellers to close your wholesale deals. You got your pre foreclosures. Obviously, those are people who are behind on mortgage or back taxes, and their house is going to get foreclosed on. Probate or inherited properties. These are people who got these properties inherited, and they may not want them anymore, or don't know how to manage it, or it might be a burden on them, so they might be willing to sell that property. Your absentee owners, people who do not primarily occupy the property. The properties might be vacant, or it might be rented out with tenants. So these are tired landlords, a type profile for this potential seller. You got people who have code violations on their properties, which means the properties aren't up to code. Maybe it's busted windows, there's trash in the driveway, the grass is too high, roof is tore up, just not good in the neighborhood. So the city is putting notices on the house and things of that nature. Um, Tax delinquent, people that are behind on their taxes for the year. This ultimately leads into foreclosure. So this is a motivated seller. Fire damaged properties. Obviously, if property has been reported that there was a fire there. It may not be too big of a fire, but it might be too big of a fire for that homeowner to want to renovate it or repair it. So that's a good opportunity. Water shut off. These are people who properties do not have access to water. The water is not running at those properties, so chances are that those properties might be vacant. Expired listings. These are properties that were on the market for sale with the real estate agent, and for whatever reason it didn't sell, maybe too high in price, or the property needs more repairs, what have you. But the good thing about expired listings is that these sellers want to sell the property. Senior owners, obviously, these are people who are a little bit older. If they're living in like a two-story house and they want to, kind of downsize to more so of a ranch style single level property, or even go to a, senior citizens home community. There's a lot of those opportunities out there as well. High equity, people who have a lot of equity in their houses, they probably paid off the property and they want to relocate or whatever the case may be. And then lastly, vacant land. People just have land and they just want to sell it because they want to just get the capital and do something else with the money. So these are some examples of some lists that you can pull that can generate some motivated sellers that you can start beginning to market to. And now the second part of pulling the data is going to be skip tracing and getting those property addresses, getting those the sellers' phone numbers and contact information. And there's plenty of different websites and sources that you can utilize to skip trace to get that contact information that you can reach out to these homeowners. Now, the next part of data sourcing is, you might be asking, well, how do I build these lists, or where do I get these lists from, right? Now, I'm gonna go through a few different steps here. You got driving for dollars. Driving for dollars is pretty much riding around in the neighborhood, or even utilizing Google Satellite and looking for properties that might seem to be in distress. They may have, like this picture here. This property has, bushes and things like that, uncut grass, doesn't look well kept or well maintained. So this might be an ideal property for you to reach out to and add to your list of driving for dollars to start to begin to market to. Okay. And with driving for dollars, there's different softwares. One I like to use is Resimply. You can use the app while you're driving around in the neighborhood and you see that property, you click on that property, you'll be able to skip trace it, find that homeowner's contact information right then and there. So you can even call them right while you're in front of the home, or you can send them like direct mail or postcards from the app to that potential property owner's mailing address. So those are good softwares to use, when you're driving for dollars to build a list of these distressed looking homes. Next, you have like data software companies. There's plenty of them out there. Your Propstreams, your PropWires, your Deal Machines. These providers, they have software where you can, export lists of certain properties, certain lists in different areas and zip codes, etc. You can utilize the filters and create lists and build your lists and export them a little bit quicker than it would to be driving for dollars. You can go to the local courthouse to get records as well in the city or the market that you're in. You can go to county or city websites, do a Google search to find certain lists there as well, like your code enforcement, code violations, tax delinquent, things of that sort. Networking with realtors, reaching out to realtors to see if they have off market or pocket listings, that you can submit offers on prior to them going on the market. The water company, going to the water company and seeing if you can get a list of those properties who are delinquent on the water bill, or the water is not even turned on, right? The fire department to get those fire damaged properties as well. And then lastly, a good method is, referrals and social media. So these are some ideas so you can start thinking about how to build lists various different ways. And all of these things work. It's just a matter of how consistent you are with working it. Now, step three, we're going to get into lead generation, which is pretty much marketing, right? In wholesaling, two of the most important aspects of wholesaling is marketing and acquisitions, right? And we're going to get into acquisitions next. But you always need to be marketing, okay? And there's various marketing channels that you can utilize to generate leads. But ultimately, once you have your list, skip trace, and you got your list that's pulled that you want to start marketing to your target market, your target list, then you want to start marketing to that list, right? So whether you want to use cold calling or SMS, which is low cost, it's more of a proactive approach. It's a little bit intrusive, right? Those sellers may not be as motivated. It might take you a lot more effort in order to generate, qualified leads or opportunities, more calls, more messages, etc. But that's just part of the game. It works. It's just all about how consistent you are with it. Next one idea would be direct mail. These particular homeowners, if they call you back, those are ones that's going to be usually higher motivated, right? It can be a little bit costly, it's more reactive, but you can generate big profits with direct mail. Pretty much you're sending out mailers and postcards to homeowners, and if they call you back, then these people are generally more motivated and interested in selling their properties, okay? And there's softwares you can use for cold calling and direct mail. Resimply is one of the CRMs that I use. So I utilize them as well when it comes to sending out postcards, mailers, and then utilizing their dialer to make cold calls as well. You got some other ones here, pay per lead or pay per click. This is more so in regards to like Google ads. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's higher motivation, bigger profits. It's a little bit more reactive. But these people are pretty much interested in selling their property. They're reaching out to you, submitting a form online, saying that they're interested, and pretty much, higher motivated, right? Now, not every lead is going to be a great lead because of price and circumstance or whatever, but these are good opportunities to generate qualified opportunities and generate leads. And you have another one that works as well is door knocking. This works well for those people who are difficult to get on the phone, whether you're calling or texting or even mailing. Primarily, this works for those pre-foreclosure opportunities. I've seen a lot of success there when you go up to their door, knock on the door, and ask if they're interested in selling or if there's anything you can do to help them out in their situation. This one takes a little bit more time, low cost, more proactive, but it's very effective as well. Next step is acquisitions. Acquisitions is, like I said, you have two important parts that I like to say. That's marketing and acquisitions. If you're not marketing to enough opportunities, you're not going to generate enough leads. And if you're not doing the acquisitions, you're not going to get any contracts. So those two work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So, let's talk about acquisitions a little bit. That involves qualifying leads, following up with these leads, and making offers to these leads. And we're going to get into those three pieces here second. So the first thing is qualifying leads, right? Whenever you're marketing to these opportunities and a seller raise their hands and say, yes, I'm interested in selling, yes, I'm interested in the offer, you want to make sure that you qualify these opportunities, right? To see if it's a good fit for you to make an offer. So here are a few questions that I like to ask when it comes to qualifying these leads and checking off and making sure that this lead is a good fit for us to get an offer. One, are you the owner of the property? If they're the owner of the property, great. Two, how soon are you looking to sell? If they're looking to sell this property in the next 2, 3 months, great. If they're looking to sell in the next year or two, well, I'm not going to spend so much time on this particular opportunity, right? So the timeline is very important. Number three, why are you considering selling at this time? I want to understand what's the reason behind them selling, what's their motivation, so I can be able to provide value with the benefits of my offer when I'm getting ready to make my offer, right? So I want to understand that motivation. I want to understand that pain point and see how we can solve the problem that they are having. Next is most important as well. How much are you hoping to get for the property, right? You always want to find out what their asking price is. Get their price first to see if it even makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then it may not make sense for you to waste the time. So you want to see if you can get their asking price first, because you don't want to give them a price where your price is probably going to be a little bit higher than what their original asking price was. So you don't want to screw yourself in that way. So always attempt to get their asking price for the property first before you give them a price first. And once you check off these boxes, ask these questions here, you'll be able to get an idea as to, okay, this opportunity is qualified. Then you could jump into the condition of the property and understand what the repairs are, etc. But these key questions right here are the primary questions that you need to utilize to qualify these opportunities. The next step, the fortune is in the follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up. All right. So the first thing in following up, a lot of times you're not going to get a deal on the first call or the or the second conversation or even the third conversation. It's going to require you to make consistent calls over time. So your follow up system or your follow up process needs to be on point when it comes to this. So here's a few tips for following up. Number one, be consistent, right? You want to be very consistent when you're following up because you want to be able to stay top of mind with the seller when they are ready to pull the trigger to sell that property. Regular contact demonstrates professionalism and persistence. Now, what you want to do is you want to create like a follow-up schedule every 1 to 2 weeks. What helps is utilizing a CRM or a calendar, but I prefer a CRM. Resimply CRM is very great with this because you can set up drip automations. That way, it sets up tasks and sends emails and text messages automatically. That way, while you're focusing on other things, you're automatically touching that particular lead and keeping that lead top of your mind while you're doing other things in the business and focusing on other leads as well. So utilizing that drip automation will help you be able to be consistent with your follow up and don't allow anything to slip through the cracks. You want to diversify your contact channels. So, if a seller is non-responsive to calls, then you might want to utilize text messaging. If they're non-responsive to text messaging, you might want to utilize email. If they're not responsive to email, you might want to use direct mail or door knocking. So you want to utilize different contact methods to get in touch with these sellers when you're following up. Find out which one works best for the seller, which one you're getting a better response with, and then that's going to be the method or the contact method that you're going to be utilizing going forward. Next thing is you want to provide value, right? Whenever you're having a conversation with the seller and you're making your follow-up call, you want to make sure that you're not making the seller feel pressured for a sale, but you want to provide some value, right? Understanding what the seller's situation is, that way you can help provide value by being a problem solver for that particular situation, right, that the seller is in. Next thing is asking the right questions, right? Obviously, you want to ask the right questions so you can understand the seller's needs, understand the motivation. That goes back into providing the value, right? By asking the right questions, you can understand, what value, what solutions that you can offer to the seller. Also, asking the right questions such as, well, has anything changed since, you know, uh, since the last time we spoke, or what challenges are you currently facing with your property, right? So these type of questions keep the conversation going. So you not just calling, just saying, "Hey, are you ready to sell yet?" Right? You need to have a plan when you're calling these leads and making your follow up. And then lastly is create urgency, right? You always want to create urgency because you don't want to allow these sellers to believe that they can take as much time as they want. And they really can, but you want to make sure that you're creating urgency that, hey, I'm looking at other properties, just want to make sure that you're ready to make a decision. The prices change every single day, so I want to make sure that we set aside these funds for your particular property, things along those lines. So you just want to add a sense of urgency to what your offer is or making your offer, so you can kind of nudge the seller a little bit to make a decision a little bit sooner rather than later. And then lastly, you want to make more offers. It's all about the amount of offers you get. If you're not making offers every single day, or if you're not making offers consistently, you're selling yourself short because you're not going to give yourself opportunities to get contracts. You have to make offers in order to get contracts. In order to get deals, you got to get contracts. So it's offers, contracts, deals. That's how it works. So the more offers you make, the more contracts you get, the more deals you can close. So you have to be consistent. Now, here's some tips for making more offers. You want to make sure you know your numbers, right? So whatever formula you use in the MAO formula, MAO, maximum allowable offer formula, you want to make sure you understand, you do your right research and finding the right comparables, understanding the repair estimates. You want to make sure your numbers are sharp, right? You don't want to go to the seller and give them a high offer and that number doesn't work. And now you have to go back to the seller and renegotiate. It does happen, but if you're sharp on your numbers in the beginning, it won't be a burden on you later on down the line to have to go back and renegotiate, okay? You want to provide multiple offers, right? This gives the seller options, right? You can do a cash offer, and you can do two cash offers. You can do, what I like to do is a cash offer, a higher cash offer with the seller with the seller covering the closing costs, or a lower cash offer with the buyer covering the closing costs, right? So that gives the seller more options. And who doesn't like options? Everyone likes options. If you give them some options, they'll be able to choose one of them and move forward with it. Also, creative offers as well, like seller finance and subject to. Those are some other situations as well. Some different options you can offer them. But creating the multiple offers will increase your chances of them working with you because you're not just tying them down to one number. It allows them to be able to choose and give. It shows your flexibility and what solutions that you can provide for these sellers, right? When you're making your offers, you want to explain your benefits, right? That you're paying all the closing costs and fees, right? No attorney fees, no closing costs, as is condition, no realtor commissions that they have to pay. You can do other things, right? Other benefits based off of your conversation and what their needs are. You can offer assistance for moving, right? You can offer storage assistance, okay, for them to store some of their furniture and items, personal items, right? And you can also do, post-closing occupancy. Basically, is post-closing occupancy is when you close the deal on a specific day and you give them, 2 to 3 weeks after the closing date to move out. But on that closing day, they're able to get some of the funds from the deal so they can do whatever they need to do, right? If they need a little bit more time. So you want to make sure you explain your benefits when you are making your offers. Next thing, you want to anchor your cash offer. You're making cash offers, anchor your cash offers. Start with a lower cash offer below your maximum allowable offer. That way, you can reset the seller's expectation, and also it provides you a little bit room for negotiation, right? If you need to negotiate. So a lot of times, people want to negotiate. Sellers want to negotiate, and you want them to have the feeling that they won, right? So whenever you're able to anchor your offer lower, you reset their expectation, and then they come in at a little bit higher than that, and you can have the opportunity to meet in the middle to make them feel like they won the deal. Okay. Um, Next thing, obviously, you want to establish trust. The way you can do that is by, explaining the process, the closing process. Once they accept the offer, what are the next steps? How is it going to look? Kind of paint a picture for them of what's going to happen next so they can actually visualize the next steps and build that trust, and you have that credibility with that particular seller lead. And then lastly, which is most important, is follow up on all your offers, right? There are going to be a lot of situations in which you make offers and the sellers will not accept the offer. that's fine, but you want to make sure you continuously follow up, right? Until they sell that property to you or to someone else, or they tell you, do not call me ever again, right? So make sure you consistently follow up on these offers, ones that you did make and they accepted, and the ones that they did not accept, okay? You want to make sure you stay on top of those because you're going to be able to create opportunities by being consistent and persistent with the follow up. Now you done got your property under contract, you done made your offer. Now it's time to get into step 5, which is the dispositions, right? Finding cash buyers. And there's so many different methods that you can find cash buyers, so many different ways. Here are a few ways to find some cash buyers. You can use data software like your Propstreams, your PropWires, your deal machines, things along those lines. You can utilize the MLS, the multiple listing service, right? You can put the deals on the market, list them or whatever to find cash buyers. You can reach out to real estate agents, realtors, and see if they have a network of cash buyers that they work with. Because a lot of times realtors and real estate agents, they work with fix and flippers who are cash buyers and they list their properties for them. So they may have a network of those type of individuals who are looking for more projects to purchase properties. So connect with real estate agents, things along those lines. Networking events and meetups, right? You want to go to these real estate meetups and networking events consistently because you're going to be able to rub shoulders with actual cash buyers, fix and flippers in those spaces to help you close your deals. Facebook Marketplace and Facebook groups, you can post your deals up on there and find cash buyers. You can joint venture with other wholesalers that are active that have cash buyers as well. You can utilize bandit signs. You know, you can put fix and flipper available and put your phone number out, put it by a Home Depot or Lowe's or in the neighborhood, and you might have some cash buyers reach out to you because they are active in those areas looking for another project. Here's a good one: foreclosure auctions, right? What better place to go than an auction? All that's there is going to be buyers, right? Buyers that are looking to buy properties from the auction. So why not go there as well and network and meet and mingle with actual cash buyers who are there to purchase properties? That's where they hang out. Um, and then lastly, you know, title companies and closing attorneys. Some of these places, they might be able to give information to buyers that they've been working with. Some of them may not, but it doesn't hurt to, you know, make that connection and relationship with these title companies and closing attorneys. So these are just some methods that you can use to find active cash buyers for your wholesale deals once you get it under contract. And then finally, step 6 is the closing process. The closing process is pretty simple. Typically, closing a wholesale deal can take as quickly as a week to as long as who knows what, depending on what's going on with the title and the payoff and all that. But pretty much you want to start the title search. Pretty much starting the title search is you have your purchase and sales agreement. You have your assignment agreement between you and the buyer. So you take those 2 contracts and those 2 agreements, you send it over to a reputable closing attorney, investor-friendly closing attorney, a title company to start the title search. Once they start the title search, you want to make sure you follow up with the title company, right? You want to follow up on that title just to make sure there's no issues or any delays. I typically like to follow up every 1 to 2 weeks just to see what's going on. Once the title is cleared out, they're going to confirm a closing date. You confirm that closing date, confirm that time, and you communicate with the seller and you communicate with the buyer so they are all on the same page as far as showing up to closing. And then lastly, you close the deal. And that's pretty much the 6 steps in, you know, closing a wholesale deal from start to finish. You just repeat that process over and over and over again, and you'll be able to, you know, close deals more consistently. So I hope you guys found this video very valuable and helpful. And I look forward to speaking to you guys on the next one.